Hey, how's it going on, everyone? Thank you so much for clicking the video. I'm Ayrus and welcome back to another Clash Royale video, and today we're going to talk about the rockets, how to use them effectively and make the most out of the rockets itself. So it's going to be a pretty simple guide on how to use the rockets specifically. So before I start over, make sure to subscribe to the channel for Clash of Clans or Clash Royale content every single day. Make sure you do leave a like if you enjoy this video, and make sure you click on the bell notification icon to get notified when I put a new Clash of Clans or Clash Royale content so you don't miss anything. And let's get right into this. So when it comes to rocket, it's a 6 elixir card, which is of course really gonna do a lot of damage to troops as well as for the tower and buildings. So when it actually comes to the rocket, when a lot of people are actually using the rocket, a lot of people actually only use the rocket for offensive kind of style. What I mean by that, they actually use the rocket to attack rather than defending. So they actually use the rocket to attack it on the tower or maybe a building or something like that. But a lot of people don't actually use the rocket on troops when you actually have a situation where there are so many troops that you can actually take them down. A lot of people don't want to actually drop the rocket, rather than just put down the troops, which is of course not gonna work because there's so many troops over there that will probably kill down your troops no matter which one you put. So the best bet, the best option for you would be to probably put in the rocket over there, but a lot of people don't do that. So the best way to actually use the rocket is of course know when to actually use the rocket defensively as well. A lot of people only use the rocket to do an offensive kind of style, to use the rocket to attack the tower or building, but then they actually don't defend when there are a lot of troops with the rocket. So if there are troops that actually cost at least 4 elixir or more, that is when you actually want to drop in the rocket and kill all of them down. Although you put in the 6 elixir card, there are so many cards that actually will die or at least have a decent amount of health with the tower. Will probably take that down, so it's a big benefit out for you. So you definitely want to consider that and use the rocket for your defense as well. Now when it comes to actually using the rocket for defensive kind of style, I mean by actually using it on troops, you should not actually put in the rocket for tanks. Tanks like giants or maybe the giant skeleton, the royal giant, the golem are troops that have so much hit points, and it probably isn't a good idea to actually rocket it because they probably will have a lot more hit points left in them. So it's definitely not going to be a good card to actually put on tanks like the golem or giant or something like that. So don't ever drop in fireball or rocket or whatever it is on a tank, because it probably will not do any bit of help for you at all. It won't probably help you in any means at all. It probably will remove some hit points, but then it will not remove or kill down that troop all by itself. Again, when it comes to troops like the Dark Prince and guards and all these cards which actually have a shield in front of them in order to get into the real troop itself, you of course do not need to rocket it. If you rocket it, they're just gonna break that shield, which is just gonna have around 200 hit points or something, and then you actually have to deal with the real troop itself. So it's a complete waste. You don't want to spend your rocket on troops like that where they have a shield in front. So it's definitely not going to be a right card to put for the troops which have a shield. It's definitely not going to be the best card to actually put on it. So the most effective way to use the rocket is when the opponent is actually putting in the buildings behind the tower. So you can actually position the rocket right in between the tower as well as that building, so it's gonna do damage for both the building as well as the tower. So if you don't know how much the rocket can actually take the amount of hit points on that building or maybe the tower, you can probably long press on the rocket icon in the Dex lab over there. Just long press on that, it will probably give you the amount of damage it's going to do for the troop as well as for the tower as well. So for the first one, which is a huge number, is definitely going to be for the troops, because the rocket card is actually used for, it's done basically for cards, for troops. And the second one is for the tower, which does less amount of damage because they don't want to actually use the rocket as the main card rather than putting in the cards itself. So again, long press on the rocket icon over there rocket card, it will just probably show you two options. The first one being the amount of hit points it will actually remove for the troop, as well as the second one going to be for the tower. So there may be situations when the opponent is actually going to put in the elixir pump. So the first time you probably may actually put it behind the tower, thinking you don't have a rocket. So you probably want to put it on the rocket. You probably want to put the rocket right on it and do the damage both for the tower as well as the elixir pump. Make sure you're making out the most out of the rocket in order to actually get the victory much easily. And after that, once you actually get the amount of damage done, you probably might actually put in another elixir pump, maybe on the other side of the tower where you're not likely to push. So in that case, again, don't waste your time, don't give him the elixir advantage, because if you just don't rocket it, he's probably going to make so much elixir that he's going to come up with a big push, which you probably cannot defend all by yourself, I mean. So you probably want to rocket as soon as you see elixir pump, no matter which part of the arena it is in. Just rocket it. 6 to 6 equal elixir, not a big problem at all. So it's definitely not going to be a loss for you. So it's definitely going to be a same kind of bet for both of them. So definitely do rocket pumps as soon as you see it on the arena. So one tip I would give to the elixir pump is to actually put in maybe a mortar or an X-bow that actually can shoot to that pump, even though it's in a very far range from the pump itself. So if you can actually have a mortar or an X-bow, and the opponent actually put it kind of near the king tower in front of the main tower, then you can probably put in the mortar. The mortar will actually shoot through and do the damage to that pump. That will be the best bet to actually do, rather than just putting in the rocket. So when it comes to rocketing air troops, it's really important to actually understand the thing that the air troops kind of thing is different. So you need to see the shadows in order to understand where the air troop is actually going to come across. So if you can actually see the shadows of the air troop, that is where you actually want to put in the rocket on. The shadow is the place where the troop is, so make sure you're actually seeing in the shadow of the troop and then dropping in the rocket, so that you can actually make sure that the rocket is going to hit the troop and nowhere else. Alongside that, there are some variations in the troop speed, like if you're actually going across maybe a hog rider or maybe an elite barbarian or something like that, their speed is more faster than what you can actually think from a giant or something like that. So you definitely need to actually risk on this. You definitely need to time it well. You definitely need to use the rocket more to understand the kind of speed they're actually going to come across in. So make sure you're actually don't put it in the wrong direction and completely making it a flop show out in there. Make sure you're actually concentrating and putting it at the right spot in order to get the best out of the rocket. So when it comes to buildings, there are some huts over there. The goblin hut, which actually spawns around 5 seconds. Every goblin will be coming out from the hut. So as soon as the goblin comes out from the hut, you probably want to rocket it so that the next goblin that is actually going to come across is going to die along with the hut and the goblin. Both of them are actually going to die as soon as the rocket is going to hit the ground over there. So that is the right time to actually put in the rocket when you're actually coming across a goblin hut, because it spawns it every 5 seconds. So as soon as this goblin gets out of the hut, you probably want to rocket it right on that hut to do damage both to the hut as well as the goblin. Now when it comes to the barbarian hut, the scenario is different. It actually spawns around 10 barbarians in total. So when you actually put in the barbarian hut, you actually want to make sure that you're actually waiting in around 14 seconds. That is when the the barbarian hut is gonna actually spawn up the next barbarian. So make sure you're actually timing in that right, the 14 seconds. You want to make sure that you're actually timing it right, or you probably will not get any benefit out of the rocket itself. Again, 2 more barbarians will come into the party to distract it. So make sure you're timing in the rocket well to make sure that you're getting the best out of it. Again, there may be situations when you probably cannot go through with your troops, and that is when you actually want to cycle up with rockets. So just take this case. If the opponent has a really good counter for your deck, if he's not going to let you do any bit of damage to that tower, it's just going to defend it at any cost, you probably want to start cycling out the rockets and making the damage for that tower. It can actually do 400 hit points, so it's kind of equivalent to what a troop can actually do. Although it drops in some troop, it's actually going to take down that troop, and you might or might not get that 400 hit points down with your troops. But then if you're actually putting in the rocket, you probably can take down 400 hit points no matter what happens, because once the rocket falls, the 400 hit points is actually going to go down. So you want to keep in mind that if your opponent has a really good counter for your deck, start cycling out the rockets and making the best out of it, and making the kind of damage you actually need. 400 for every 15-20 seconds. As soon as you start cycling out, you can actually get 400 more and keep continuing right like that. But you need to keep in mind that you actually have to understand what the opponent is going to come in. If you're actually putting in the rocket, you just have 4 elixir more. So you want to make sure that we're actually having a good counter for whatsoever troop it actually is going to come across with. So keep that in mind if we're actually dropping in the rocket. So thanks so much for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. This is the deck. I mean, this is the guide for rocket itself. It's pretty simple, it's pretty easy, but then it's really hard to master it as well, because there was a lot of variations when it actually comes to using the rocket. So make sure you keep that in mind, and thank you so much for watching till the very end. I'm Ayrus, and I'll be seeing you next time. Until then, goodbye.